COVID-19. There's been increasing talk about making a vaccination mandatory. With that said, meaning that if you want to continue to do things in society like you did before, that you might have to mandatory take a vaccination for this COVID-19. So I don't know how that's going to come about, how if you refuse that's going to impact you, how it's going to impact your family, your kids, how you're going to be able to do things in your life from now on if you don't accept it, what would be the measures taken against you and your family for not accepting it. And quite frankly, it is a bit of a scary situation. And the reason why I say it's a scary situation and not a blessing and something that perhaps we shouldn't worry about too much, especially if out there our governments want to save us by producing this vaccination against this, what we are seeing as a horrendous virus that is affecting people in so many ways. And that is true. This horrendous virus is doing that. This pandemic is doing that. And what's really scary about it is that it's not just hurting people by ending their lives, as the statistics are saying, but it's how our governments are taking this opportunity now to commit a lot of overreach in our lives, to now install a lot of state-of-the-art security systems that they have been designing, AI, artificial intelligence, that basically are ran by artificial intelligence, where data is collected, it is reviewed by teams of people, but at the same time it's a system that is kind of automated, sifting through what's good, what's bad, or what they consider what's good and what's bad, meaning what we say, what we do, what we vote for, the kind of opinions that we have, anything that we say online, anything that we do in our lives can be looked at, scrutinized, where investigations by police or intelligence can be opened at us at any moment in time, where any social gathering can be viewed potentially as a gathering to commit, terror or harm to the rest of society, because you are not doing it in the social distancing or the social standards that these people want to set. And that is what's terrifying about the environment that is being brought forth as this whole COVID-19. And when people try to really look at this, there's been a lot of censorship. We cannot question anything about it. We cannot have different opinions from it. And that is something that our governments have been doing lately that is really dangerous, and that is censoring all form of opposition towards the government. Any agenda, any plan, anything that they're doing, anything that we say, we are trying to insult people of different sexual orientations, and the way they have us viewing the sexual orientation and how we are to view it for the future, and how they're trying to shape laws and acts around those laws, so that we are accepting these things or force accepting these things. So it's like the vaccination, you are to accept it. The LGBT, you are to accept it. They want to create new abilities for their social services system, where they got social workers who now want to be the third parent in your family. And they're starting to do this through the schools. They're starting to do this through setting community standards in your country, to, if you don't act a certain way or show a certain way or do a certain thing for your child, or don't provide certain things, is specifically vaccinations, that you could be viewed as a parent that's potentially harming your child, or someone who potentially might harm other people with their actions or their negligence. Quite frankly, criminalizing anybody who has a different opinion towards this kind of system that is gaining more power over us. And it's the bureaucracy meets the needs of the expanding bureaucracy. You have liberty and you're not willing to stand up for it, that you can basically lose it, that you have the right to lose it. So giving up, your liberty, your rights to be free, so that you can have a little bit of security, so that you can have a little bit of safety, or let's just say be manipulated into giving up your rights because you're getting a little bit of safety. It's the way that our systems are structurized. It's the kind of moral rules that we have as well. That if you don't hide behind a belief, or you don't have a specific kind of defense in your government, that everything can collapse. And perhaps we're seeing that in today's time. But the thing is that we as people, the citizens of our country, especially in a country like Canada, where I am in right now, and the kind of things that I have seen, the kind of things that I have participated in with my family, to make this country better, especially coming from an immigrant family who has come and made something new in this country, as well as respecting the laws, respecting the system here, tolerating the system here, as well as giving up our culture, giving up a lot of our things to integrate and to, yes, be a guest to a different country, while at the same time bringing what you have, and not just being from a different country and being a foreigner, but like everybody who comes to Canada wanting those fair opportunities and being able to yes, participate in a system that we thought was wonderful for the longest time. But now me and my family begin to see what this system is actually doing, and today trying to voice yourself out, and the kind of scrutiny you get, that is influenced by the very system that is telling you that you have freedom. I feel that is really manipulated. Canada today, especially under Justin Trudeau's little regime, which is a continuance from all the past governments, to just this version, to where the Liberals blame the Conservatives and the Conservatives blame the Liberal, the left versus the right, which is all controlled by the center. You see it in the States as well. It's either Donald Trump saving the people, or it was going to be Hillary Clinton or a Bernie Sanders. And just today with this COVID-19, who's going to save the people? Which government is it going to be? Which mindset is it going to be? Who's going to impose the vaccination faster? Who are the ignorant people who don't want this? Who are the people who are speaking against the science? Who are the people who are speaking against the patriotic voice? And what it's doing is that it's literally mixing us up and not allowing us to actually see the bigger picture and act how we're supposed to act. And that is as citizens who are supposed to be informed, are supposed to have a say in what we do. And that was the whole point of our countries here in North America, especially the English-speaking ones. The whole point of this whole past revolutionary talk, the fight against fascism and people who want to rule the world and basically eliminate people based on their racial inferiority, according to the government who wants to do that. And that is what I've been taught in this country, is that the social justice, to do this, to do that. But then now that I'm growing up and seeing it more deeper, I'm seeing how it's truly manipulated, and everybody around me sees that, and that's where I get that notion from. It's not just me. It's not just a random person here who just got these conspiracy theory ideas, which, by the way, conspiracy theory was an invented term by government, by intelligence in the United States, the thing called the CIA, which is well known, to discredit people from actually truly looking at what's happening in life. If the government's doing something they're not supposed to do and people question it, the government just simply calls them conspiracy theory. And it's pretty well known that with the media, with our news channels, with the way that we educate our education systems or schools, they teach our youth, they teach our people, is specifically not to question things. And if you question things, that you're made to look, like radical or stupid. If you look at our very movies yourself, if you look at Hollywood and how it promotes all this peace and freedom, but if you actually look at it too, it promotes a lot of intimidation. This could happen, but it's just a joke. It's conspiracy theory. It can happen to you, but if you start talking about it, it's stupid. It doesn't make sense. And that's the kind of environment we have too, especially for Canadians. Like they're not allowed to question things. Like whenever they begin to use their brains, it's like they're not allowed. It's like the system's like, why? You have so much freedom, you have so much this, but if you look at it closely, you really don't. Trying to buy a house, build a house, build on a property. They got so much bylaw, so much stuff that you can't build. You just can't go in the middle of nowhere anymore and do it. You want to own a property, you can't. Now they want to make it to where people are moving into condos, into little townhouses, And once you've paid your property and the amount of money that you pay for this property and for how long you pay for it, depending on the occupation you have and how much you can pan out, it's at the point where people now are paying strata fees and taxes for the rest of their life, to the point where they don't own their house. And if they fail on those payments, that they can lose their house. They can lose so much. You have to pay for police protection when the police protection that you're paying for is basically becoming a police state. And that is quite inappropriate. And I've had Canadians in the past who said they've spoken about these things, and they've got literally intimidation from their very own government. Knocks on their doors, people asking them if they like Canada, if they like living. You know what I'm saying? It's like, for what? For talking about the way the tax system works? Why would you have to deal with that? Why would you have to deal with intimidation? Because you are basically asking questions. And a lot of this happens in North America, and we have this Hollywood notion where we have this freedom of speech, and this, when some of the biggest battles to protect that freedom of speech is being fought right now, and people don't realize it, that we are losing that every single day, and that places like Canada and the Constitution as well has that, where you can't tax people like this, you can't do this, even driving laws and the way it is, which I agree with the driving laws that we have now, of course, but even that, like, the way that bureaucracy has structurized this country, the way that the parliament, or whatever you call it, the political body or the government that right now rules over Canada, not governs it, rules over it, is pretty corrupt. It's draining the people. It's this fake social justice notion. It's just destroying Canadians, and it's making it to the point where if you want to live in a place like Toronto, British Columbia, parts of British Columbia, parts of anywhere in Canada where it's moderately okay, where it's not so rural and so rough, if you want to live there, the what you have to pay for real estate, what you have to do, the way the Canadian dollar is so influenced by everything else around the world, to where Canada, anything that happens here, Canada can't function, and it's all political, and it's basically like making the people feel that if there's a depression, if there's a crisis in China or the States, that Canada is not going to make it, that it's going to go into this third world situation where people will not have enough to feed themselves, and it's already like that. And Canada's making it to the point where the people who originally are in Canada, and in most places now, can't afford to live. Their youth can't buy. There's so much bad influence, so much bad stuff, that so many people are falling victim to drugs, to where some of the most prosperous people in Canada right now is organized crime. Organized crime that seems more connected to the government than things that our government should be busting. You see what I'm saying? And that's how scary our situation is. All over North America. And what I'm saying right now is so deep, is so it can seem far-fetched to some people, that a lot of that's where it's branded conspiracy theory. That's where it's branded, like what is this? But if you actually look at it closely, that's unfortunately what's happening with Canada right now. That's how it is. And with a lot of our systems, people talk about occults, people talk about governments that are not entirely democratic, that are ran by people who basically run it from secret societies, run it from electing their own people, from mafias, basically, if that makes better sense, to where all these people that are being elected are not actually being elected democratically, that are actually intimidating and keeping other Canadians and other Americans and other people in the West from being able to actually properly make a proper vote, to actually put proper candidates up. Meaning that Canada, for the longest time, has never had a properly democratically elected prime minister, has never properly had people who are properly being elected. If when you start speaking, you get that sort of intimidation, you get that sort of environment where literally you start having things happen in your life that are slowing down your life, that are just weird things. And that is literally your system that is saying, that is defending your rights, keeping you from being able to democratically use your voice. That is terrifying. And that's quite frankly why me as a Canadian for longest times, not just a Canadian, I come from a really diverse background, but being right now in Canada, I have to say something. With this whole COVID-19 and this whole notion of the forced vaccination, I don't accept it. When I look it up and I try to ask other people about it, especially asking other people about it, everybody's on the fence about it. There's people who agree with it and say, yes, we need this, but if you look at them, they're completely they're just completely influenced by the media, the way they live their lives. It's like they have really no common sense. It's like they're waiting for what they see on TV or the news to tell them how they're gonna live next. Like they're following trends. Like they're not actually seeing what's really happening. And and them saying that they're gonna force this upon us, I disagree with it. And what I'm basically trying to say with that sentence that got kind of mixed up there is that the majority of people who I talk to, besides some people for obvious reasons, all of them disagree with the vaccination. Every single person in my family is like, no, it's just strange. It's weird. Like all the information on it. And then people saying, stand behind the science. How dare you criticize the science? And it's like, isn't that what the church used to say about itself 500 years ago, or even more recent than that? That if you criticize these laws, that you are forsaking your soul and that you are to be burnt at the stake and this and that. And today they're using the science as a new god, as the new bigotry, as the new you're not doing this. But a lot of that science is really manipulated, to the point where how much trust can you have for that science? Is it really legitimate? And yes, science is legitimate, testing things and seeing if they work or not, seeing if something works or not. That's what science is testing it, proving it, studying it, making sure that it functions and that it's gonna be safe, or if it's not going to be safe, or if it's going to be a weapon, or if it's going to be something that's going to save lives. You know what I'm saying? Science can go in any direction. And that's kind of what I'm trying to point out to people too, and that's what people are trying to point out is that just because we say science doesn't mean that it's legitimate. People can lie about numbers, people can lie about things, and politicians lie about things every single time they're in office. Every single sentence that comes out of their mouth is a lie, or it's twisted, or it's not what's going to happen, or it's not exactly how it's happening. And I'm telling you that with this COVID stuff, the way it has happened is too suspicious. When you look at what we look at TV, the way we're educated, just like the entertainment we have, always conditioning us that something like this is going to happen, that a virus, that a government has to do this, that there's going to be measures or mandatory things that are going to be done, and that we have to basically follow by or police states, or the zombie apocalypse, and if you look at it closely, it's in a way conditioning you to accept what's happening for the future, and this is what's happening. This is our future. And I'm basically trying to say that I don't believe in it. I don't believe in these excuses to why we have to do this stuff. I don't believe in these excuses to why every single day we have to lose our ability to have our freedom. It's just not just freedom and this notion of liberty and having fun and what you want to do. That's kind of specifically what has to be looked at, is how they're using these notions, saying that this is what we want, that this is the liberty, that this is the freedom. But when you look at it closely, they're actually taking it all away from us, keeping us from having our own opinions, keeping us from being able to identify with our own sexual orientation, mixing things up in such a bad way where basically terrorist movements are gaining more freedom in our countries than actual human rights. And with these things, they are changing the fabric of our laws so that we have no human rights, so that we can't say we have human rights, so that we can't just go and claim that hey, you know, I got freedom, I don't want to do this because I believe that this hurts my family. No. To the point where you can be laughed out of that courtroom and basically just imprisoned. And, you know, we talk about fighting against Hitler, but that's communism. That's what communism did. Communism, I believe, was like Hitler was like a grenade going off in the wrong place, you know. I believe that communism is like a nuclear bomb. It's a complete terrorist mentality where the whole nation is run by, like, every aspect of life is ran by, let's just say, Hitler for 100 years. Let's just say that, not just for 10 years until he gets defeated, and from then it's really unclear what actually happened. With communism, it's pretty clear. And if you look at it, our colleges or universities, our system is like teaching that this is okay, that communism and what it did in the past and having a mentality like that is okay. And that's when it's really suspicious. And I'm like, we fought against Hitler. We got this notion that this is what's bad, that this eugenics, that this whole racial superiority or based on what people have, like killing people based on being inferior. Communism is basically eliminating people who are inferior to the government's thought, who are inferior to, let's just say, like the government is pushing LGBT, the government is pushing the movements that they're pushing today, and the people who disagree with it are the inferiors. You see what I'm trying to say? The people who disagree with the science are the inferiors. The people who don't want to give up their farmland and don't want to pay these strata fees and these horrible taxes and want to accept these horrible educations in school, you know, this dehumanization of our societies, those are the inferiors. You see what I'm trying to say is where we are heading. Of course, I'm not going to accept that vaccination for me and my family. Like, are you kidding me? But then they're going to say, well, you're putting your family in danger. You're basically one of those inferiors who are denying the science, and perhaps you should deal with some sort of repercussion. And they're trying to teach our youth, our society, that when they commit these repercussions against us, basically the majority of the people who are saying no, if they can't convince us, if they can't force us, that they might have to force us even harder, force us in the sense where it becomes physical, it becomes a real oppression where you can't go in any direction besides the direction these people are telling you. Basically, like, if you want to go that way, they'll physically keep you from going that way. You know what I'm saying? To the point that if you keep persisting to go that way, you could even lose your life. You see what I'm saying? Because we know how it works when we resist. You know, and why resist proper law, right? Why resist someone who's trying to help you? Why resist a police officer who's trying to prevent a crime from happening, right? Now, let's just say, what happens when crime is you just hugging your child? What happens when a crime is classified, part of the classification is you saying I disagree, or you saying that I want to ask more questions first. You see what I'm saying? That is the environment we are in right now, if you haven't really looked closer. And we have to break that environment. Is what I'm saying like bad? Is what I'm saying something that's really detrimental to the viewers? Is this a video that perhaps shouldn't be on YouTube? Those are the kind of things that we as well are facing. Are we allowed to have these opinions? Can we? Should we? My friends, the law says you are allowed to have these opinions. Your constitution, every single country that claims itself to be modern, yes, absolutely, you are allowed to question things. You are allowed to even resist and fight. Like, in our constitutions, it says like Like, if someone's trying to like do this to your life, to where they're doing what our modern governments are doing, you resist that. You change that. And that's where your beautiful system of Hollywood is there for. What our modern education is there for is to break now those notions to where only people with a lot of money can have that freedom. Why? Because they pay a lawyer to just basically recite what everybody should have. Recite the laws that should defend everybody. But no, bureaucracy is meeting the needs of its expanding self. Meaning that it's all these loopholes, all this paperwork, yes and no's and approvals, to the point where you can't build a house, or you don't have the very freedom that you were told you have when you immigrated to the country. And when I said that they're making it so hard for regular Canadians to buy or do or move anything, is that they're now bringing in, they've always have, but now this is like the 100% business, the 100% survival method, and the best go-to method for governments to gain votes and agendas, for Justin Trudeau's to do what Justin Trudeau's do, and that is basically replacing the old populations that can't live like this, with people who are coming from countries and really need a better life and are willing to pay that extra money, live in one house, and pay $1 million for a property that's not worth $1 million, for a property that's probably worth maximum $60,000, $70,000, $80,000, with the size that Canada is. If you're in New York State, I can understand living the way people do right now in many parts of Canada. But quite frankly, Canada is not New York State. In fact, New York State probably has more people than Canada has in its entire country. And it's inappropriate that Canadians are living like that, where you cannot buy a house. And now with this whole COVID-19, where you might be forced to take a vaccination, or else you are some sort of danger to society, to the point where you're going to be singled out. Ladies and gentlemen, and the way they're censoring everything, like, this is the reality. And we have to really look at it for what it is and begin to use our voices. Even if you're okay in life, even if you're doing okay, begin to use your voice, begin to talk to your communities. We have to bring back community meetings. Bring back just doing it with your family first, with your friends. Forget this whole thing where you got to be a certain way, follow a certain trend. You can't say certain things, or no, screw it. Have debate, even if the debate gets serious. Have the debate and leave that debate. Don't get into conversations where people are going to be so hateful to the point where, no. But begin to use your voice and begin to find people who want to hear that voice and want to share their voice as well. And they're saying that this is bad. Like literally, I'm almost afraid that speaking like this can land me in trouble. Just literally, like freedom. Oh, I have to duck my head. Yes, it's that bad, folks. It's that bad. And I don't want to live like that. And no one wants to live like that. This is not just me. This is not just my selfish, I don't want to be oppressed. No, everybody is saying that. And the people who are saying that we have to be in this future like this, quite frankly, you guys have to reassess what you're saying, and as well just understand that you're not many, but the system that right now is trying to impose this is making it seem like that's the only voice out there by censoring everything else. You don't want to be a part of that. And I'm saying that when you begin to use your voice the proper way and really standing up for your country the proper way, you're going to see that you're going to feel much more happier. You're going to feel much more satisfied with yourself. You're going to feel you're going to be much more productive, and the people around you is going to respect you. You're going to use your voice for what it's supposed to be used. Because right now what's happening is that it's dividing people to the point where it's making everybody hate each other. Look at it closely. Our systems are not pushing all-inclusiveness and love and peace. They're pushing hatred. They're pushing divide. They're pushing poverty. I believe that. And I have the right to say that. I have the right to share that. Anyways, folks, also with this COVID-19, keep following the social distancing, keep following these laws, keep your family safe, but yes, question everything as well. Question, and don't just accept things, begin to really use your voice. And if someone's out there saying, hey man, I'm gonna do this because you're using your voice, use your voice even more. Absolutely. If you're a person who stands up for your rights and believes in what you believe in, then and you truly love your family and are saying that you're fighting for a proper cause, and you're willing to cause disruption in a conversation so that you can say, hey, this is the right way, then do it the right way. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. God bless you. And if you can, share these videos, share your voice, and let's push towards a different environment, towards proper privacy, towards a proper platform where we can share, towards a proper education system, towards a proper government that properly respects democracy. We properly respect our laws, continue with our good laws, while rooting out and getting rid of the bad ones, and still making this world, I guess, better. Preserving our wildlife, preserving our climate, not having people just tell us that this is what we're doing while they're destroying the animals. They're destroying the climate faster than we can do anything about it, and saying that these are the laws that we're going to have because we have no more environment and they're going to control it. That's kind of like setting us up. That's kind of like derailing the train tracks, having the train derailed, and then saying that that this company now needs to be in charge of the railroad. You see what I'm saying? Like do you really want to be governed like that? Do you want people to do that with your life? No, absolutely not. That's the whole reason why we don't like racism, why we teach this whole thing about not supporting Hitler's notions and ideas and Mein Kampf, you know what I'm saying? And for our systems to have done this way before Hitler existed, all throughout Hitler's existence and way after Hitler's existence, still doing it today, and then wanting to impose like a communism. When I said that about before Hitler, during Hitler, and after Hitler, I'm talking about what was done to Native Americans here in these English-speaking countries by the very system that educates its people against this Hitler idea, like eugenics, Darwin's like you know what I'm saying? Like if you look at it closely, like this whole racism, this whole other humans are not as superior as some, that comes from the system that claims it's fighting against people who want to impose that around the world. In fact, our systems were the ones posing it around the world first, and still kind of are, and now are using the science to do it in a different way, to where it's not about race anymore. It's about now. What is it about now? Well, we're finding out. Stay tuned and just look at your local news, and you'll see who the next inferior group is. And supposedly that's everybody who has an opinion against our government right now, our governments, and don't stand behind the science and the modern church that is the church of science. And if you don't accept it, if you don't accept these movements that are backed by science, that they can shove it down your throat, not just by Bible thumping it and coming to your door and yelling at you and you having to kick them off your property. No, where they want to put handcuffs on you if you just look funny. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not in communist China, or whatever China the Chinese government wants to say it's doing to its people right now, the People's Republic or whatever. No, China still lives in an utter communism, in an utter police state that is not just a police state for the protection of its people or a temporary thing. This is a thing that is permanent, and it harvests its people for whatever it wants. You cannot do anything. Like, social distancing out there means if you walk the wrong way in a mall, you could be separated from your kid. You say anything against that police officer doing it, that right now could be your end. Hey, police officer, what are you doing? Hey, you're hurting my arm. You go into court And you saying that could be the new charge against you, to where you're now going to suffer 50 years in an internment camp, slave labor, because you criticized the police officer who almost broke your arm. That's scary, ladies and gentlemen, and quite frankly, I'm not going to live like that. And that's what's trying to influence our systems to be like that right now. Systems like that don't want to lose their power. They don't want to lose the power they have over their people. So they're trying to use our politicians, people like Justin Trudeau. Hillary Clinton was going to be one of them. Who knows what these other politicians have who say that they're for democracy and freedom and our West and our patriotic views or whatnot. It's not about patriotic views. It's about preserving your life, self-preservation, and about having a proper system. It's not about these patriotic views of how I want my things here in my state or my country. No, like I'm actually, like, with common sense. The people who speak about that patriotic thing, they're talking about common sense. It's just how they defend their countries. It's how they stand up for that freedom that they love. And we have to keep doing that. Are you kidding me? Like China has to censor everything that comes out of China. It has to censor its own citizens, even has to follow its citizens when they come here in North America. I'm telling you, we are being literally invaded in many ways. Our economy, our everything. And these systems are trying to influence our politicians into going that way, saying that, hey, this could be your country too. You guys could be this ruling family who never has to be questioned again. You can make it law that Justin Trudeau's kid, like, we could be ruled over like North Korea is. Really scary. And I'm telling you that that places like China don't do it like that. You know, obviously they're more sophisticated than North Korea, but it's kind of the same. And if you look at our systems, they're kind of the same too. When I explain how our democracy works, it's with this bureaucracy, they're keeping democracy from actually properly existing. They're manipulating it, and instead it's just mafias ruling over us, and mafias ensuring that our citizens can't just become prime ministers or become elected officials in any way. And if they are, they're like these like dhimmis. They're these like third class politicians. And no, we deserve much better than that, especially for what we work for and what we pay into and what we fought for, the blood that has been spilled so that we can have our freedoms. I don't think so. I think it's like, I understand, especially when you watch movies too, how they always show politicians screwing the people, screwing the soldiers. If they keep showing that constantly, like, then that's it. It's obsolete. We got to change that. Like, I don't want to be ruled over by a primitive, a completely irresponsible and immature system. It's like John Wick, like the people who he fights against, who says there's rules. It's like these like satanic, like looking mafia kind of. It's like, you. Sorry for my swearing. Like screw you. Like, no. Like, are you kidding me? And if that's what our government's like, which it's a pretty big clue, like constantly, it's a pretty big clue that we are being ran like that, by systems that are autonomous, that just elect themselves, and weird. It's just a game, this democracy. I don't want to live like that. That's fake. That's just a complete lie. And there's people who accept this lie, who say, this is part of society. It's like this James Bond danger, you know, like, no. Are you kidding me? And especially me being a new father and inheriting a lot of stuff as a father now. No, quite frankly, no. I want my children to see a better future. I want all of our children to see a better future, including myself. It's not just about my children. I want to see this too. I'm still young, you know, like, I was a child not so long ago dealing with so much BS, and especially because of this stuff and how it can affect some people, you know, to where, like, people who live this perfect life of it's only like 10% of people here in Canada. It's not even perfect. I mean, just living normal. It's not what people make it out to look like, this American dream or whatnot, and it's pretty manipulated. It's pretty full of lies, and it's not a good way to live. Anyways, guys, this video went on longer than it went on. This is just me ranting, and now at this point, and yeah, so I'm gonna end it here. And thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and until next time, you take care and goodbye. God bless you.